Mayor Bauer,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rennick,
Here.
Alderman Madray, Alderman McDermott,
Here.
Alderwoman Jones,
Here.
Alderwoman Joseph.
Here.
Madam Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Alderwoman Joseph, will you lead us in the pledges? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
honor
The Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. At this point, our Jamaica Beach Police Department Chaplain Frank Mata is going to lead us in our invocation.
Good evening, folks. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with gratitude for the opportunity to serve the community. Thank you for the leaders that gather here, for their commitment to the people of Jamaica Beach, and for the wisdom you provide to them to guide their decisions. Lord, we ask you for your blessing over this meeting. May our discussions be productive and our hearts be open, and our actions be rooted in service and integrity. We also lift up for those in need, both near and far. I pray for those that protect this city, to please keep them safe. And since tomorrow is Valentine's Day, may we be reminded of the power of love, not just in chocolates and roses, reminders, fellas, but the kindness and unity and the way we care for one another. Let love be at the heart of all we do. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, does any council member have any conflicts of interest to note on the agenda items today? All right, public comment. Ms. Marisol Torres.
Hi, I'm Marisol at 16613 Curtis. All right, let's go. All right, I'm gonna read this. The Fourth Amendment guarantees our personal security in our houses and then our land so that we have a private, secure space where we can live our lives free from the inspection and scrutiny of others. Full faith and credit is the requirement derived from the Article 4, Section 1 of the Constitution, that state courts respects the laws and judgments of courts from other states. This clause attempts to prevent conflict among states and ensure the dependability of judgments across the country. Rentals like Airbnb and VRBO can continue operating in Dallas court rules. A district court previously allowed short-term rentals to continue operating in Dallas, despite the ordinance that would ban almost all of them. This is February 10, 2025. Dallas, an appeals court upheld a lower court's decision blocking Dallas from enforcing an ordinance that would ban 90% of short-term rentals like Airbnb and VRBO in areas zoned for single families. A trial court previously granted the Dallas Short-Term Rental Alliance and other plaintiffs a temporary injunction preventing the city of Dallas from enforcing its ordinance. The fight has dragged on since June of 2023, when the Dallas City Council voted 8-7 to approve a new ordinance. The Dallas Short-Term Rental Alliance brought its suit against the city in October of 2023, arguing the regulations were unconstitutional and illegally discriminating against STR owners and operators. In December of 2023, District Judge Monica Purdy agreed with the Short-Term Rental Alliance that they would likely successfully argue that the city ordinance was unconstitutional. In its appeal, the city argued the trial court abused its discretion when it allowed the short-term rental owners to continue operating in the city. The city also argued that members of the Short-Term Rental Alliance have likely not paid required hotel occupancy taxes, but cited no evidence, the court said. We therefore conclude the city has not shown the trial court abused its discretion and overruled the court's fourth issue, Senior Justice Yvonne Rodriguez said. The trial court previously ruled that the short-term rental operators who filed the suit have a substantial risk of probable, imminent, and irreparable injuries to plaintiffs because plaintiffs and the vast majority of other SDR owners in Dallas will immediately lose the ability to lease their property for less than 30 days. The appeals court upheld this finding. Thank you.
Okay, Kendall, I believe you had, to read?
Yes, I have one. Betty Montgomery, 16606 Nassau Way. My main concern is our current infrastructure. I would also like to see 100% attention towards our infrastructure. This affects each and every resident at Jamaica Beach and our property values. It appears the only concern the city has is the STR and trash bags, and events that only is aimed towards the full-timers. Please give us a state of the below. 1. Water lift station, percentage of it being well maintained, percentage of need of repairs, and what needs to be repaired. Cost involved, question mark. How much rust and lead are getting out into our water with our lift station? Old faulty lines. 2. Sewer plant, percentage of it being well maintained, percentage of need of repairs, and what needs to be repaired, cost involved. 3. Ground pipes, percentage of it being well maintained, percentage of need of repairs, and what needs to be repaired, cost involved. An annual water quality letter is supposed to be mailed to each resident, typically by July 1st. I have talked to several residents and none have received this letter. If our infrastructure fails, we would have to bring in bottled water and everyone would need to get onto septic systems again. This really affects the sellability of our property, and our property values will plummet.
Thank you. Okay, we have no special presentations tonight. From announcements, City Hall will be closed on Monday, February 17th in observance of President's Day. And the Mardi Gras Golf Cart Parade is not this Saturday, but next Saturday, the 22nd. Kendall, did you have anything else to add to announcements?
No.
All right. Okay, next is reports from directors, police and fire. First of all, from City Administrator Francis.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I'd like to say thank you to Chief Raymond Garvey for his service to Jamaica Beach. Yesterday was his last day with the city. To let everyone know that applications are being taken until March 1st, and as of this afternoon, we had 65 applications. So, and then Lieutenant Matthew Sertan, he will serve as interim chief. I want to let you know that the pool replastering project is going to get started next week, so we're going to start either probably this weekend or maybe Monday, Tuesday timeframe. We're going to start seeing the pool be drained, and just to let everyone know that we are testing the chemical levels of anything in the pool, but the intent is that it will be discharged to the canal immediately adjacent to the pool. So just wanted to give people a heads up of that. Our beach nourishment project appears to be moving forward. We got the approval for the amended permit for the sand. GLO is finalizing a contract with the contractor, but I don't have any kind of start date or anything at this time. And then just a quick update on the STR.
Quick question. I know that our copay on that beach nourishment is $142,000.
Roughly 143.
I'm not sure when that's going to be due.
No, we've already paid it.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Just real quickly, we are still progressing on STR applications. So far we've had a total of 277 of those. 159 are actively reviewing. 75 have been sent back due to missing information. 43 have been approved. And so that's kind of where we are to date on that. And then just a reminder that tomorrow is the filing deadline for local office by 5 o'clock, and City Hall we will be here until 5 o'clock to take those applications.
Okay, is that it?
Mhm.
Okay, next is, from police, Matt, if you wanna step up, and I'm gonna ask you to do something right quick.
Okay.
Just turn around and face the camera,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Okay.
I think everybody knows you,
Yeah.
but I wanna make sure everybody knows that this is Lieutenant Matthew Saratan, and, he's been with Jamaica Beach for a while, been our lieutenant, y'all probably all saw him promoted last year. And, he will be our interim chief, so I want everybody to take a good look at his front face.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Oh, you didn't get seen good enough? Come stand by Esther. Okay.
Oh, she wants me. You good? Okay, so for the monthly report, we had 41 calls for services. That's also assisting Galveston PD with the calls for service. We did our regular routine business checks, residential checks, vacation watches, and out on the beach in the marina. We had 140 citations. Not very many calls. We had one accident, and also we had one arrest for DWI in our city. Also included into my report is the racial profiling report that we actually had to conduct and submit to TICO for the whole entire year. And that was submitted at the first of the year. And that is all I have.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, well,
Do you happen to know if there's a status update on the slot machines at the, or the, 8-liners or whatever they are at the
gas station?
So I,
Not that I know of.
Okay. I didn't know if they had to get notified or how.
I have spoken to them, and they're removing them, and I'll be honest, I haven't went over to check, I haven't been in there last couple of weeks.
Okay.
But I did give them a deadline of February, the end of February 28th. But they didn't, it wasn't gonna be an issue. Apparently they rent them, release them.
Okay.
And so, they will be, coordinating to get those sent back.
All right, thank you.
Matt,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just want to tell you, you've done a wonderful job at putting these reports together.
Thank you.
And it's the most transparent and informative police reports in this city's history.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Robert's not here, but, his report is attached. Does anybody have any questions that maybe Kendall could address concerning that report? Okay, and Fire Chief Baden has no report at this time. Okay, next is consent agenda and approval of minutes. So, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as posted from the regular city council meeting on January 23rd, 2025?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of approving the minutes from the regular city council meeting? Okay. Next is comments, reports from members of council. Alderwoman Joseph, I think you're up first.
I don't really have much. I know, I'm sorry I missed can you hear? Okay. Missed the meeting last time, but, just wanted to remind people that there is gonna be traffic. I did post that today. There's gonna be more traffic again on 45. So there's gonna be holdups again. So if you're making plans to be off the island for Valentine's, prepare. And then, also too, just a reminder, I don't know that Kendall mentioned this, but Saturday AT&T's coming out to support Jamaica Beach with the hot dogs and drinks. So come out, enjoy. If you didn't do anything great for Valentine's, maybe you can do something for Saturday.
Take your day
Take
for
your
hot
day
dogs.
for hot dogs and a drink. Hosted by AT&T here at City Hall from 1 to 5. That's all I have. Happy Valentine's Day, Lauren.
All right, Alderwoman Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. When I have a question, a government type question, I go to the government websites and search for the answers. And I was delighted to discover something on the Attorney General website, and I passed this on to the mayor. There's a paper now that needs to be posted at all government offices. This needs to be prominently displayed. And the sign, let me see, the poster describes the basic rights and responsibilities of requesters under the Public Information Act. The poster also describes the responsibilities of governmental bodies under the Public Information Act. The poster must be plainly visible to requesters. The poster must also be plainly visible to governmental employees who receive and respond to public information requests. In the era of Trump, Elon, and Doge, the people have demanded more transparency and oversight. Mayor, may I suggest that we also add this to the city website?
Yes, that's a good ad.
Thank you. I appreciate that more information is now available on our city website, more than ever before. And I hope that we continually update and put more information on the city website. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman McDermott?
I just wanted to bring up two things as we're leaving winter and getting closer to spring and summer. And one is to, have we done a maintenance check on the mosquito truck?
We actually just talked about that Wednesday staff meeting, so yeah.
And then I know last year we had talked about coming up with a spraying schedule that's maybe more preventative than reactive.
Yes.
And I was gonna see if we could maybe work on that and make sure our driver is certified, and if there was any way to get additional certifications for anyone in case she's out.
So we can operate under her certification.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
And have we sourced a good price for dumps?
Yeah.
In bulk?
Right. And a way to attach them, because if you throw them in the ditch, they actually float, so they'll just float away.
Float away.
with the rain.
Some kind of little holder to mount?
I use tent stakes at my house and just put them in.
Poke them down? Okay.
And then I know this has been no one's request but mine really, but I wanted to still see mention possible need for opening the pool a little earlier for people with young kids. The pool actually doesn't even open until young kid nap time, so I think young kids and parents of young kids would enjoy being able to go to the pool earlier in the morning. That's all I have.
Also with respect to the pool, last year thrown around a little bit was could we arrange swim lessons?
Right.
I don't know if we could put that on Tina's list to see if, we can put a query out and what the interest level is
Great idea.
and what time frame might be best, and then we could look at a certified instructor and see if that's a good point. Yeah, Harold?
Thanks, Amanda, too, for things that roll around in my head, but a minute ago when Kendall, since we're back on the pool, said something about the pools to be drained and discharged into the ditch. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Chlorinated water?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. We have it. If you were to
Be
go,
chlorinized before it's.
yeah, if you would go by there, you would see that it's already green. Yeah, we haven't added chemicals for.
Chlorinized water going into the ditch without going to the treatment plant, okay.
Thank you.
That goes my fishing for the rest of the year.
Anything else?
No, that's all.
All right. Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things, both positive. One, we had bingo at the park 2 weeks ago, and that was an awful lot of fun. I think we had a great time. There were over 100 people that were there, which was awesome. There were some folks from the RV park as well as Sea Isle that were there. So we're drawing them in, I guess. Tina does a great job, so it was a lot of fun. I think everybody's really enjoying it. So I just want to mention that really quick. And then another positive thing. Last year, Mayor and I had gone to a conference in downtown Galveston for Centerpoint, and during that conference, we were able to talk to our own rep for our town, as well as several other department heads throughout Centerpoint. And so during that time, we had talked to our rep about the way that the city's arranged, and I don't know if everybody knows this. I think probably after Beryl, everyone realized this, that the power is segmented down the center, right? There's two different sections. One's powered from what's called Stewart 5, which is that direction towards Stewart Road, and you see the big power lines that are moving in, and then it's also powered from West Bay behind us, this direction. And those who don't know, there's a cable that actually goes all the way from the mainland to the end of the island before it comes all the way down to Jamaica Beach on the west end of the city. So anyways, when I spoke to him, we were talking about this and just how can we correct this so that, of course, the sewer plant is paramount, right? You need to keep the toilets flushing, and actually when they flush, it needs to go someplace. And so one of the things that was discussed was they had a plan that they were going to tie us into just one, so we weren't split down the middle. And so we floated the idea, well, what if we could switch that by having some type of a switching mechanism at the front of the neighborhood so that we could be powered from either one completely. And so I wanted to report today that as of 2 weeks ago, that switching has taken place, it's installed. So during an emergency, they'll be assigned a manager. So they called it, what was it specifically? A site manager will be assigned to our location who has the authority to make that decision. So depending upon where, you know, the breakdown is, we can switch to the other. That way our entire community's powered. So that's a big win for Jamaica Beach, and I wanted to let everybody know that that happened. So that all started right at that meeting. Yeah. So that was a good thing. And then during the course of the conversation, I asked them what else was going on. And they are continuing to replace all of the power poles, the wooden power poles with the fiberglass ones, which are much more durable. And that's going to continue on through the next several months. So if you see the crews, they're going to continue to replace all of those poles throughout the neighborhood. So again, another good win for us, and just a better feeling of security, I think, overall.
Did they give an update? There's another line that runs under the bay that goes from Tiki.
Mm-hmm. That's the one that goes to this West Bay 3.
It goes down there?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's the substation down there that gets supplied from
They
Tiki.
had found a problem in that line,
Mm-hmm.
and they were flying in some sub-water experts to fix it.
Right, I meant to apologize for that.
Anchored on
It gets really shallow over there, you know, on the boat.
And you have a big boat.
I know, right?
So is Jamaica Beach the only place in Galveston has a resilient power now, where it can switch over?
It's unique in that way. They've been setting up different methodologies for using the switching technology that didn't exist before. So now they've employed that here. So that's a big benefit. So that way we stay energized. As long as there's no problems like down lines in the neighborhood, they have to make that correction first, of course. But it's a big win for us. We won't run into that same situation again where just one side of the neighborhood is powered. So I think that's a big deal. But anyways, I just wanted to report that.
Awesome. All right, Alderman.
I don't have anything, but I want to congratulate you guys on getting that done. That is really good news.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sir.
Yeah, it will help us. Okay, next we're on to new business. So, first is discussion, consideration, and take action to authorize our city attorney to file suit to collect hotel occupancy tax for the property at 16643 Bermuda Way, and to direct the city attorney to file a notice of lis pendens regarding such matter. Do I have a motion to discuss this lien?
I'll make a motion to discuss the lien.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Kendall, you wanna fill us in?
Yes, ma'am. So, essentially what has happened, this property has been operating as a short-term rental for the past, let's say, 2 years. And they have not remitted their local portion of their hotel occupancy tax. That amounts to approximately $7,200. And this is probably our first test case in a scenario like this, but this property has now been put up for sale. And we want to protect the city's interest to be able to recover that amount of money. And the only real leverage that we would have is to, in layman's term, put a lien on the property, although it's my understanding that's not truly what we're doing, but that's what it amounts to. And it is a correct terminology that we are filing suit against this, and that, if approved, this notice of lis pendens, pending it means pending lawsuit, will follow that property, and the attorney says that that's usually what gets people's attention, that they understand that has to be rectified if they're purchasing this property. So that's basically where we're at. We need, if you so choose to go down this path, like I said, this could be our first step in many of these as we look to
Collect back taxes.
collect back taxes. So this could be a method for us to do that on many of these properties.
Okay.
So, other properties that were in arrears, when they had their registration numbers suspended off of Airbnb and VRBO, and if they're wishing to still operate as an STR, that has encouraged many of them to come in and pay their back taxes. But those that are opting to sell their properties rather than continue renting, as this property is doing, then we lose that leverage of being able to affect their right to rent because they've not paid hotel motel tax. So as Kendall pointed out, this is kind of a test case
Sure.
to see if it encourages people to pay. And then, like you said, it will follow the property. So, discussion?
So then does that mean that if someone purchases the property, they also purchase the debt? Or does that mean that the property can't exchange hands until the debt's cleared?
I don't have a clear answer for you on that. That's what I said. The attorney said that, because I used the term lien, and he said that this is not technically a lien.
Okay.
And
But will they give clear title if there is a
that's-
lawsuit pending against
see,
it?
that's,
My
I
guess
think
is
is
a
what it is,
title,
that they
I
don't
think a
get a
title
clear title
company
to, yeah.
won't issue a title without standing judgments against the property. And judgment's probably not the right term, but, this will be attached to the property.
Because when you buy something, they typically run the title to see if it's.
Yeah, if you have a clear title.
It should
Yeah.
trigger that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anybody that would buy a property without, and generally a deed won't be issued if the title, I'm not, if anybody in here knows more about real estate than I do, please step
If
up.
there's a lien on the property, they won't release the property until the lien is settled. If
Well, I
it's-
know
If
a
it's a
lien.
lien.
This is not technically a lien, but I think it still would prevent title from being clear, and a deed won't be issued, if title's not clear. Yes, Ginger?
Ginger Jones, 16612 Curlew. Wouldn't it be that the seller would have to pay that, not the buyer?
They would have to negotiate it, right?
Okay,
I think it just
would
has to
think-
be cleared. Who clears it, Tinkerbell can come in and clear it, I guess.
I can't imagine
But,
a buyer clearing it.
It just has to be paid and cleared. And I
Okay.
suppose we have to release it, the lawsuit has to be resolved by our judgment, but I'm speaking way out of line here on what I actually know.
The owner of this house isn't here tonight, is he?
No.
Or her?
No,
Now, this notification, was that by certified mail? Is it verification that they received it?
Oh, yes, we've had, what is not included, you'll see, it says, Schedules A and B that the attorneys have not, I don't think I included it in the packet. It is all of the, all the back and forth that we've had with this owner, as far as notifications, emails, and, it's it's boiled down to that they've paid, the state portion and didn't know that there was a or did either not collect or did not know that there was a local portion to remit. And that's the excuse we get for a lot of these types of situations. But nevertheless, the money's still owed.
Yep.
And I don't know if y'all, when you read the packet, you know, it also shows with this notice, there's, late fees, 15% penalty fees, and lawyer's fees that will be attached to the total amount.
Seems pretty cut and dry.
Yep.
All right,
Motion.
do I have a motion to approve, the city attorney filing a lawsuit to collect hotel occupancy tax for the property at 16643 Bermuda Way, and to direct the city attorney to file a notice of list pendants regarding such matter? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve as noted.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
All right, all in favor of,
I rescanned it and put it in.
authorizing the city attorney to file suit? All right, thank you. Okay, next is discussion, consideration, and take action to approve selling excess city property. Do I have a motion to discuss?
I'll make a motion to discuss selling excess city property.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Kendall, back to you.
So this is, the city owns 4 boat slips, marina boat slips that are depicted here on this map. They're in the green, number 10, 44, or 42, 43, and 44. We have not been able to ascertain how we came to own those. Whether they were never sold originally, or whether we somehow got them back from someone.
Unpaid taxes, or,
Yeah,
you know,
unpaid,
we might have.
something like that. But we had recently been asked about the city's willingness to sell them, and that's what got us looking into it. And you know, discussion with staff was that we see no future need or use for the city to own those. We did. I did visit with, at the time, Chief Garibay and Chief Baden about docking our boats there, and they said that wasn't really feasible, and they needed to be able to be taken out of the water, and they really needed a boat lift. And also, you know, for like Chief Baden, that they wouldn't necessarily would not be necessarily the fastest to respond from the marina if the boat was just to be left there. So really, it serves no purpose for us to hold on to them, and they do have some value. But as we started looking at the process for what it would to sell them, it looks like we really have 2 options. We could do a public auction, or we could put a sealed request sealed bids for those properties, and that's kind of, if the council wishes to try to move forward with disposing of this excess property, that's what I would recommend, that we did a sealed bid. There is no requirement for us to accept any of them, so
Can we specify a minimum bid to start with? You know, like what is the minimum
It
price?
doesn't say you
we would-
can't, you know, and when
What we
you're
would
reading
take
the
for it?
statute, it doesn't say we can't. Now, if you were to go on, like, HAR Zillow, something like that, there are a couple of them that are listed right now.
Yeah, one's at 12.8, one's at 14.8.
Yeah, one is like 18,000 and
Oh,
one's
okay,
about
14.8.
something, so
Okay,
10,000 and 18,000, somewhere in there, you know,
Okay.
so it's somewhere in that general vicinity is what these are probably going to be.
do you know what the condition of the side docks are around these that we own?
I don't think there is.
There's a few
any-
out there that look decent,
Yeah.
but most of them.
I don't think there are
pretty
any of ours.
tired.
Yeah, and so it's really unimproved boat slips.
It's just selling water.
Yeah.
It's selling a little teeny tiny piece of bulkhead.
Yeah, so, but like I said, there is no obligation for us, you know, if someone said, I'm gonna throw it in for $1, we don't have to take that dollar.
Well, I would say, let's see if we can find out if we can set a minimum bid.
Sure.
But if we set a minimum bid, I guess that means we have to take it at that minimum bid, doesn't it?
Probably.
And we might get a better price. I
And
mean, if we put a minimum, I might come in with 10,001.
And one,
Right.
the price is right.
Now, in an auction scenario, then you do have to take whatever
Okay.
is bid,
Okay,
So the ramp between 44, or the ramp is between 44 and 45, correct?
Mhm.
And so, do you know how, I'm just curious, how much of I know on both of those there is a little bit of walking dock. Do they own all of that? So if you're launching your boat, you need to tie off to the cleats to pull your trailer out. Do they own that whole walking strip, or do they own the interior part of the boat slip? I mean, the one of them's private property already, but I know people tie off to those cleats. I'm just curious on, you still
Well,
use those? As
my
not long?
preference would be to not sell the one that's
what I was
adjacent to the boat ramp. I think that could potentially have future benefit if we ever wanted to expand the boat ramp, not that we need to, you know, but in the event of a storm, if the boat ramp was extended, you can get two boats going at the same time, you know,
So if the city ever decided to have a youth sailing program or anything
Right.
like that, you could have a place to tie
Yes.
a little hoagie boats or something.
yeah, I would say if we're gonna, we ought to hang on to that one.
I agree.
Well, I've seen where the fire department have left their
Yes.
rig there, and they've
Yes.
gone to lunch and then come back and
Yes.
gotten it done
Yeah,
stuff, so.
yeah.
You know, it'd be nice to not have to at least have a place for them
Yes.
to
Yeah,
park.
yeah, I kinda like keeping that one. The others, you know, I don't know that I see a use for them either.
Is it the responsibility of who owns that to if the boards are going bad or
Yes,
anything,
it
it's the
is.
responsibility of the owner to replace them?
And there's taxes that have to be paid on them.
Right.
Yeah, not a lot, because their value's not huge, but it's not,
About $40 a year.
yeah.
Flood insurance, fortunately.
Just a question, maybe you already talked about it, but how far does, like, on those that are on the parking lot, how far does it extend back onto the parking lot? Well, is there room
It,
for them to put a box like you see at marinas where guides have?
when we went and looked into this, the city owns that land behind that section, right?
It's like the
But
parking.
it's a parking easement. But it's a parking easement. If those folks wanted to put some kind of a box, I believe Taz, you own one. Isn't your survey just to the bulkhead?
Yeah.
It doesn't go, it's all city-owned easement. But
So
that
the bulkhead
easement
is
is not specifically granted to the owner. It's the city easement, and the city decides what to do with it.
There was a big, discussion about this 5 or 6 years ago, that some people believe that because they own that slip, they also owned the area nearby, so they could have private parking for that slip, and that's not true.
Yeah, they own to the bulkhead.
Just so we clarify that.
Hmm?
When we put it out, we need to clarify.
Yes, we do. If we put it out for bid or auction, it needs to have a survey.
Who's responsible for the maintenance on the bulkhead?
That's what I was
Owner.
asking.
The owner. The owner owns the bulkhead too.
Mhm. Right.
And we will not be providing any power.
No, there's no power, there's no water.
So it wouldn't be worthwhile for the fire department to, if we combine 43 and 42, I mean, we could potentially have a lift there, but you're saying that doesn't get them anywhere. It doesn't help for them, for one of the boats.
No, we would have to run power to the site, in some way.
that's
I mean, power's not that far away.
No,
There's
I
houses
was
right
gonna
there.
say, and there's light here and light
So
here.
we could run power there. But if we, as we've discussed, if we are interested in pursuing a boat lift for either the fire and or police boat, I think a better location
Yeah,
is at the sewer plant.
right, now I know.
And the sewer plant on the north side of the plant, those lots that the city owns, it's platted to have drive straight in boat houses, cause they were all platted to be townhouse style, with a boathouse right in front, projecting out into the water, not sideways. So, you know, we could put a double pretty easily, and not have to have them staggered back to back, and, I mean, it's still kind of the same amount of poles and wood, it's just a slightly better configuration.
And that's where they're closest to the bank.
And that's where they're
Right,
closest
yeah.
to
That's where we
the,
need them.
to the bay for
I
fast
agree.
response.
That's
So,
where we need them.
You shoot down
That's-
Bob Smith and you're there.
yeah, when Kendall brought this to my attention, you know, that was my thought, is that, yeah, those two could make a boat location,
Sure.
but the sewer plant is a better option. I
Okay.
Is there a sticky situation in all of these on this south side, or all of them? That's 14 different ones, so if that bulkhead was rotten and the city-owned properties fall in the canal, you would have to get 14 owners together
Well,
to agree to replace that bulkhead, right?
Yes.
There's issues over there right now as it is.
Yeah, it's not.
It is something that, needs to be addressed. And one of the things, I'm not sure the right ordinance to do it in, but somewhere we need to clearly establish the homeowner's responsibility to maintain their bulkhead. We don't, to my knowledge, and I've looked, I've not found anything clear cut that states that. But if we did that either in I don't know if that could be in a modified zoning ordinance, if it's in a unsafe structure ordinance, you know, we've got those.
Right.
So, it does need to be spelled out, cause we have a couple of other places where bulkheads are crumbling and deteriorating and it's impacting the value of their neighbors. But we don't really have a lot of teeth that we can more or less convince owners to take care of their bulkheads.
So we're in agreement that we keep 44?
Yes.
Okay. And then the other 3, silent auction, I guess, is that what we need to decide?
Sealed bid.
Sealed
bid.
Do we have to decide the method of selling it in this meeting, or?
Well, I would say
Yes.
yes, I mean.
Yeah, I prefer the sealed bid option, especially if we don't have to take it. And then council can approve it or not approve it.
Right.
Does anybody else see any reason to keep them?
Yeah, I don't either.
We
I
didn't know
think-
we owned them.
I know. That's
I mean, I
right.
reached out to,
Yeah.
previous mayor, Phil Douglas, you know, to see if maybe he had a history of it. Ralph, do you have any history of why we own those?
I think they were, the lots are,
Never sold?
they went with property that wasn't
Dry lot.
dry lots. So if they sold them, if y'all got them back for back taxes, that's how you ended up with them.
It was my understanding that they originally, when they put the plat together, that there was supposed to be another canal in between Trinidad Way and Jamaica Cove, or Jamaica Inn.
Yeah, and then there was supposed to be one behind Jolly Roger too.
Right, so instead, they filled that in, that's why those backyards are so enormous, and then they offered them these slips
Yeah.
as a compromise, because I know that some of the property owners, they have those that, so that would make sense, right? Cause when you bought yours, that came with it.
Yeah, it's attached to the deed.
Okay.
It is attached to the deed.
And Steve and Lisa Corson are the same way.
Right, cause your backyard's probably big too, yeah? Or like deeper than,
I don't know.
Not
isn't it?
Maybe it was just, maybe the original plan was everything north of Jolly Roger was supposed to be water. And then when they actually laid it all out and dredged it, it didn't work that way, that some of those lots had been pre-sold, and that's what I heard. They decided then to attach those to those land lots.
I see.
Okay,
Alright.
alright, do I have a motion to approve selling, excess city property, boat slips
10, 42, and
10,
43.
42, and 43 via, sealed bids.
I'll make a motion to sell excess city property, boat slips 43, 42, and 10 by sealed bids.
I second it.
Alright, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Alright, next is discussion, consideration, and take action to select an engineer to assess the wastewater collection system and address inflow and infiltration. Do I have a motion to discuss?
I'll make that motion to discuss.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So as you guys know, our manholes are in questionable condition. And Kendall and myself and Brandon and Aaron, when their work allows, have been talking to different companies to come in and do an assessment of our sewer system, to combination of smoke testing. Smoke testing is what it is, right? You put smoke into the sewer lines and you watch where it comes out. And where it comes out, it indicates you've got a open pipe of some form, a crack, a manhole leaking, a lid leaking, and then also cameraing the lines. So a combination of both. So we've been reaching out, and the basis for this was, you know, we have a lot of needs and not a lot of money. And so if we could do an assessment that identified the worst ones, so we know where to spend our money to get the most benefit from the dollars we do have to attempt to address this issue, and that we could be more effective. The other option is that we just take a section, right? And we go section by section, and we don't smoke test it, we camera them, and we repair what the camera tells us. But that doesn't mean we've caught the worst ones in that section. You know, we can take some guesses about what the worst section is, but we might bypass some and then have to come back and fix them later. So that was our thought. Let's see what it costs to get a qualified company to come in, open them up, put a list together of what needs to be done throughout the whole system, and then we would risk rank the item, the breaks that we found, and make a prioritized list, and then we can go out to bid to go attack wherever we cut off on what we wanted to do. You know, we think we have 180 to 200 manholes in that range. And so the repair cost for them runs anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 per manhole. So you can do the math. And we don't know the condition of the sewer line.
What was that price again, I'm sorry?
To do a total repair of it. Now, just to put a new lid on, you know, but,
They put the range you said?
yeah, in about 5 to 15. One was even higher, wasn't it?
Yeah, if you went, it depended on the, let's say, the good, better, best version.
Yes.
The high dollar one is 22,000, I believe.
Yeah, that's for
If
an
you were
all
to just,
that's
the
for an
whole
all
entirety.
new manhole,
right.
right? So saying the 5,000, that's assuming you're gonna have to go in and do some lining because concrete's crumbling. And then it means regrouting all of the connection points in and out. Cause we know most of those are not in the best shape. So, and then a new style composite lid. Those are running about 900 each, but that's not installed. We've kind of found every time we go to take one off, the collars are not in the best shape. So it kind of usually involves fixing the top. Many of them need to be raised, which means we do need to put a new collar on, maybe 2 or 3 collars to get it high enough to be out of our typical high tides, right? We're not talking Ike high tides, but we're talking Alberto Barrel type high tides. But unfortunately, and Kendall, you can take over from here, we don't have any price estimates yet from our conversations.
No, and so we've talked with 2 engineering firms, and originally, I was expecting to have some information from, I believe it was Plummer, is the,
Yeah.
we spoke with HR Green and Plummer. Plummer had told us that they would have information by tonight. But the mayor and I visited with them again on Tuesday, I believe it was. They had another Zoom call with them, and they were asking more questions and thought that they could have more information to us by next Thursday. However, even prior to that conversation, as I was assessing the two companies, I was personally much more comfortable with HR Green.
Yeah.
And that not only their presentation, but really about their methodology of how they would recommend we go about doing this. They have provided a scope, and as soon as my mouse works, I'll click it up here. And
Can we, Esther, can you turn that towards us? I think all the audience can see this one.
Well, you can't read it though, it's so small. At least I can't. Can y'all read it? And it wasn't on the site.
yeah, and so we,
Yeah, we thought, it's in the agenda packet.
yeah, I will,
I didn't find it on my phone.
I know I couldn't hear.
Thank you.
and,
Yes. It was in the packet.
Yeah, I printed it.
But it's not on the, it's not online, it only stopped at the,
Oh, I don't know about that.
yeah, well, that's what we just noticed that
Yeah, it's
it
not-
didn't-
It's not on the online.
it's not on the online, I know, that's what I keep looking at. And I can't download yours, so for some reason I've been trying to download it from the.
Well, I printed my agenda packet from the website.
yeah, so I,
Really? It's
I
not on
don't
the
know,
website
I
anymore.
don't know what
It's
happened.
printing, but it's not showing up.
Yeah, she said she got hers from the website, so that's,
It's not on, I
It
mean,
depends on where you went. I went to agenda in minutes in 2025.
that's where I'm at, that's where I've been at, it's not going
Really?
back.
so we don't.
Mine stops at
It's-
exhibit B.
That's right, mine is too, from the
Exhibit
first.
A, and they're actually,
And
the exhibits
so-
aren't in there.
Okay, good, it's not just me, cause I've been like,
Well, that's weird then.
And I'm on the
We'll
website just now.
re-download it, we'll re-download it so everybody can see it.
Well, it's what he sent.
I was just saying the paper and
I didn't pull it.
So,
I can't.
anyway, from our discussions with HR Green, you know, the mayor alluded to camera, televising it, CCTV, smoke testing. They had talked about that, but that was not their recommendation as the first steps, understanding that we're gonna be working on limited budget, that they thought that their best,
That was
plan of
just a smoke
attack
test.
would know,
Oh.
that would do, if maybe at a later point, but
Okay.
their first thing would be that it would be gathering data, the historical data that we have but then it would be to physically be here and making
open
those,
manholes.
opening manholes and making those
Yes.
inspections.
Yes.
And that was going to be really, the best money spent, if you were going.
I think so too.
If you were gonna spend money, they didn't say you were wasting money televising or smoke testing, but they did not believe that was the first step.
Right.
That they thought that the actual assessment, data collection, and then physically being here, to, like she said, pop manholes and start looking at them and doing their, inspections.
And they're mapping it at the same time, right?
Yes, that is a portion of this, that there would be, GIS data that would be gathered, and that would be an additional cost to have it actually mapped, but when they're there, actually they would be geolocating it and providing the information in that.
And then the plan would be to GIS map it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then build our maintenance database off using that as the base platform.
Yep, 100%. That's how it needs to be done.
And again, this is based on our approximately 200 manholes. And then while performing assessments, they're gonna document conditions of the pipe, the clean outs, and any other easily accessible and visible sanitary. So like, if they're on property and you look over and you can see that there's a clean out broken off, they're gonna they're gonna notate that stuff. The thing that, something that would have come up with a smoke test, if they're physically on site and see something else they're gonna notate those things too. Then they're gonna provide a summary, a technical report, and you can see their deliverables would be the technical report with, a list of criticalities.
Yes.
And then we would be able to sit down and start talking about, the budget, how much do we feel we're comfortable being able to spend now, next year, whatever, and start developing projects that are gonna allow us to eat this elephant one bite at a time.
So like a 5-year plan like we did with the
Yes.
water thing?
Yeah, yeah.
So, so we will have an overall infrastructure plan, right, that has, really, I break it mentally into 4 components, right? You got your wastewater treatment plant, you got your lift stations, you got your sewer lines and manholes, and you got your water lines, right? So if you look at those 4 components, and all of them need bits and pieces, right? Wastewater treatment plant is well on its way, right? And we're already working on the new generator and electrical that are, gonna make a big step change in the wastewater treatment plant. The other side's about to come up. I hope all of y'all have, maybe if, y'all have a pretty day to get out, the wastewater treatment plant, they have cleaned up the building a lot. It's in process, it still needs to be painted.
It's lovely.
There's some trim work that has to be done, but it's looking not like the decrepit falling down shack that it was. So the wastewater treatment plant is pretty much, will be done once we get the generator and we'll get final cost for that. Then on the water lines, we still have to talk, and I know I'm diverting a little bit here, but this is overall infrastructure. We still have to talk about going on and engineering all of the wastewater, the water lines simultaneously, so we have one big comprehensive look at the city. Then, based on budget and funding, we can break off sections to repair. And how big a bite we take with that will partially depend on our budget. But of course, a bigger project has less overhead cost. So you save funds in biting off the biggest piece you can. Then the lift stations, they're all pretty well revamped right now. The 2 issues with the lift stations are 3 of them are pretty low and they go underwater with high tide. So we're either gonna have to lift the wells that everything comes into and lifts from. We're either gonna have to add collars to those and modify the piping, or we're gonna have to build a barricade around them. Have to build a dike around them and pretend they're little mini New Orleans cities.
Or you can sleep them, that's the other way.
Yes.
Inserting.
So,
Because otherwise, these things are crumbling, and they're concrete, concrete doesn't hold up to salt water forever.
yeah, but a lot of them we just revamped and relined.
No, I know,
And so,
but I'm just saying the ones that they may even go take a look at, they may pull the cover off and it starts to crumble, so.
yeah.
It's
Well, the lift
just
stations,
reality.
no, they're,
No, the manholes is what I'm talking about.
yes, the manholes. So the lift stations,
Manholes are perfect,
and then
well, perfect-ish.
lift stations.
Lift stations, manholes are bad.
Yes. Okay,
Sorry, I was looking at a piece of paper, reading one thing and saying another.
okay. But the lift stations, the only thing they really have left, other than somehow preventing water ingress into a few of them, is the call-out systems. And then the manholes are a big issue. So, yes, Taz, the plan is, and I believe our strategic plan, doesn't it have a deliverable by end of March of having that overview plan with not a lot of great numbers with it, but some very high budget numbers attached to it that will show how we will intersperse projects against staffing and funding on how we're gonna tackle this beast. And I'm going on the assumption that we need to do it with as much available funds as we can, and then look at through our operating budgets, and maybe a couple of years where we have to pay higher property taxes to get it done, then you know, but to break it out over, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, to get it all done. So, anyway, but this is a piece to help us understand and get those better cost estimates and prioritize plans to merge into that overall plan.
Yep.
And as far as it costs right now, you know, when you're selecting engineer, it's not cost-based, it's qualifications-based.
Yes.
And, you know, I think staff, my recommendation is, it would be HR Green based on their qualifications. Also, their experience in coastal communities, which was pretty substantial.
Yeah, it was.
And that, I think will pay very big dividends for us, the understanding the differences that, you know, coastal communities are gonna bring.
Yeah, I think that's an important point because they have been working on projects even on the island,
Yeah.
It's not just coastal, but our coast.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Down in Tiramar and Pirates Beach.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, the one thing that Plummer brought to the table, but we could still possibly utilize them somehow in the future, is that there's a lady that works there that is very familiar with getting alternate funding from the water exchange board.
Well, and you know, it's, of course, along with these conversations, we've had conversations with the water exchange. They've set in on some of the, on
Yes.
these phone calls.
Yes.
And they're an organization that helps you find alternative funding,
Yes.
whether that's grants, loans, whatever.
Yes.
And then there's also the Water Development Board,
Yes.
Texas Water Development Board, that has some grants that they give out for asset management programs, which would be, I think it's like $100,000
Yes.
would cover part of this of assessment, but again, that's not a guarantee. That's need based and all of those. And there's a funding window that right now I don't think the funding's not available right now. So
Yeah.
all of these things are kind of separate parts that are
You know, we could,
interplaying in this.
if we go with HR Green, which, just for the record, I agree with that recommendations. Two things with that. Number one is, we need to make sure we set it up so that the GIS mapping portion, they capture all the data, but maybe don't actually build the database yet. Because building that database, I think, is something that Water Development Board funding for asset mapping, you know, we could apply those funds to that as a separate entity, possibly, I don't know, but I'd like you to check into that. And then the other thing, of course, with our limited staff, I always have concern about our ability to manage a time and material endeavor. And engineering exercises are always time and material endeavors. So, we need some form of system that we agree to with H&R Green on weekly checks on progress to date.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that anything we build with them specifies that we have an hours expended against number of manholes captured. Let's just make sure we put in the oversight capability that they provide us with easy reports to track and follow.
Yes.
Cause we're not good at that.
True.
And it's not that we couldn't be, we just don't have the manpower to be.
We need to be able to
So-
document and follow up.
Yeah, so we need to make sure that, I mean, T&M have clear weekly deliverables on project objectives and deliverables.
Yeah.
Back to your point about, the girl at, Plumbers, didn't Steve Wald, the consultant, didn't he have a girl in some
That
of those
was
meetings
Hannah.
that was her?
And she was
She's
on the
with
plumber,
Plumber?
yes,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Didn't realize that we were talking to him.
There were
first
two with
then.
HR Green too that I thought that were tied into that, I thought.
I
Because
think they,
unless they were with another organization, because they were talking about finding,
Well, that's where the
Funds as well.
WFX, the Water Fund Exchange.
Exchange.
And I
Yes.
thought, I didn't
He kept
understand
saying-
her to be with
well,
Plumber. I thought
I-
she was a
I
third
thought she was
party.
independent.
They were.
But remember
sat
he kept
in.
saying Hannah, who's young, but she's dynamite and unbelievable, and that girl's name was Hannah. So we need to check if that's the Hannah Steve's referring to.
Because she was supposed to look into some of the things, because I had some questions about that too, about at-risk communities and what we could get, what funding we could get based on the fact that we're in a, you know, a trouble zone.
She says
So
there
we
was
need to build up
specific
infrastructure.
at-risk stuff, and it helped bring your median income down if you were at-risk as well.
Right.
To, be able to,
Yeah, hit the threshold, right, for the funds.
And then unrelated or a separate but somewhat related, you know, we're still processing through with FEMA, and they were here to inspect the beach side as far as the manholes that we're claiming as part of funding, you know, reimbursement for the work that we've had to do down there.
Right.
But then there's also the mitigation portion of it that they were here as well, and they think there's a lot of opportunities for mitigation. But honestly, the timing of that and money, you know, I don't think we can be reimbursed by mitigation. So, I mean, depending on how
Okay.
project timing would go and if we could, but what they really wanted was a scope of work from us. So this here would also
Feed into
serve as a scope of work to help with mitigation as well.
Could you ask him, so we get the scope of work and we risk rank it and we identify 30 critical manholes. Can you ask FEMA, if we can't get reimbursed, but if we went and fixed the 30 critical, does that minimize our opportunity for them to help us with the next 100 that are still definitely need to be done, but they're not ultra high critical, they're not serious high risk? Can you ask if that will that impact? I mean, do we just need to kind of keep our fingers crossed and keep limping along
Right.
for mitigation funds?
I guess logical thinking, that should not be the case, because then no one would ever fix anything.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
We're just gonna wait till the
The
government
logic
hands
and
it out the money.
FEMA have not traditionally.
But I know where you're going with it though. I mean, you're picking your battles, so if you leave some things that we could get funds for kind of untouched while
Yes.
we work on others,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
We can kind of work through it and then leave that until those funds are available
Yes.
and
But
use it.
to make sure that if, like, I don't wanna have to be forced to fix the middle tier of risk,
Right.
because FEMA will never pay for that, but they'll pay for the critical tier of risk,
Right.
you know?
It's a good strategy.
So we need to ask FEMA
Okay.
if that will, as we look at delivering on this report,
Mhm.
will that impact it?
Do we get any support from the county on these kind of things? The county?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Yeah, just wondering.
And unless it happens to be one of their, things for their bond, you know, it's an area of focus when they've done these bonds, but
Water bottle and handshake. Good luck.
I like Green's approach, because I think it fits into everything that we're trying to get done. I think everything they do will work out well for all these different programs. And I think they've given some thought to that, to start with reading and looking at what, you know, their process of developing their data. It's sound, and it makes sense, and it should fit. And my guess is they know what fits with these
Yeah.
different programs.
Yeah.
and it seems tailored to us, like just, here's what we normally do.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it was good.
There's nothing that, yeah.
All right, any other discussion? Did we ever get a rate sheet from Angela Green?
no.
Okay, can we get a rate sheet? I mean, I think their scope of work looks like what we talked about. I like their
Yeah.
cost-effective approach, but we need a rate sheet.
Yes. That way we can start moving forward.
Right. So do we want to wait to approve? Do we want to wait until we see a rate sheet? Do we want to approve Kendall starting to negotiate this?
We can start the negotiations.
Okay,
Yeah, we need to start.
All right,
that.
then-
We can't wait
We
anymore.
shouldn't,
We're still
yeah.
gonna have to approve the payment of it, so we might
Right.
as well get it going.
okay, so
Take some action today.
do I have a motion to take action? Well, it would be to approve City Administrator Kendall Francis entering into negotiations and collecting rate sheets with HR Green to assess the wastewater collection system and address inflow and infiltration.
Make the motion to approve as stated.
I will second that.
Okay, all in favor of authorizing City Administrator Kendall Francis to progress conversations with rate sheets with HR Green? Alright. Next is discussion and consideration of fiscal year 24-25 first quarter budget. Do I have a motion to discuss?
I'll make that motion to discuss and consider the fiscal year 24-25 first quarter budget.
Do I have
Second.
Okay,
So, this has been a, this, as I have explained to the council for the last 4 days, we encountered significant problems with our new budgeting software when we
hey,
when we went to,
sorry, your voice was coming across.
do we need to blow that up a little bit?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kendall. I printed what you sent to us in an email,
Yeah.
but it's not this.
And that's because we just got this, the bugs worked out of it today. And this is in your email now, waiting for you when you get out of here.
Okay, but that doesn't help me with notes. Can I get a printed copy so I can make notes?
Yeah, I will tell you, it's 35 pages. I will print you up a copy.
Well, I've already got this part that you sent to us. Is that,
Now, you'll want this. And it'll print and Esther can pick that for you.
Is it that one?
Yeah, it should be to the front one.
It's also the email.
Yeah, yep.
Set after the agenda.
Yeah, like I said, just before this meeting, I sent this out because I knew you would want to see it, you know, when you had time, more time. So, yeah, like I said, we've had significant problems with the new software because when we went to print this report, a lot of the numbers that we knew had been entered into the program did not come up. Namely, all of our budget numbers that were here that we had agreed upon. As we started looking at revenues and expenditures, the numbers seemed way off, and then we realized that it was missing the whole month of October, and we couldn't understand. And so we've been trying to work very politely with AccuFund to help correct these issues, and we'd have meetings scheduled and they kept getting postponed and canceled, and then we had a come to Jesus meeting with them yesterday, and apparently that's all that really needed to happen, because by the end of yesterday, I had discussions with their vice president and 4 or 5 other people that I had we just started calling every person we'd ever talked to and leave them messages, and then sent out a very strongly worded email, and that got the ball rolling. And like I said, by the end of yesterday, Esther was able to get some good training time with one of their people, and the 99% of the bugs were worked out yesterday. We still had a couple little quirks. They then met again this morning for a couple hours, and think that, there's still a couple of cosmetic things we wanna tweak on here, but this report is now functional and what we expected when we first signed up with this program, and the ease of use, it is there that we were expecting. Like I said, it took me losing my temper with them a little bit to get the ball rolling, but I'm now very confident that we're in a position where we thought we would be. We're getting the product that we expected, and we're also addressing a couple other issues on a couple other software things that we've been waiting on too. So we got a lot of bang for our buck. That being said, like I said, this is the first quarter report, budget to actuals, and as you look through it, I'll kind of take you down quickly through it.
Can I interject real quick?
Sure.
Esther, remember how we were doing our projections so that year-to-date actual versus year-to-date budget? We would actually have the year-to-date actual, but we would also have the quarterly budget, the predicted budget, so that it would be broken out by quarters. So, because when I like this, I have to do math, right? So I look at it and I see all this red over there. Well, of course, there's all this red over there on revenues because we're only a quarter into the year, right? And I can't quickly look at it and say, are we good, or are we bad? Because I would have to have another line.
That's what their percentage is. So we're at 46% of our revenues for the year.
In the quarter, we're only in the first quarter, not half the year.
I know.
Yeah.
So that-
for the property tax insurance, every year should get them.
Yeah, so that should tell you we're ahead of schedule.
Yeah, this is revenue.
Okay.
This is revenue.
Yeah.
I know.
Now, how come, hotel occupancy tax is at 0?
Because that actually is reflected in the fund that it should be in. Yeah, it'll reflect farther down here in
The SDR.
Department 20.
Yeah.
And that is.
Is there a page number?
It looks like page 18. No, page 16.
But it should be year-to-date budget up there with
Yeah.
0.2 in that line item, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
So,
So it's we're currently at 38% at $229,914. And like I said, there are some little tweaks that we still want to make to this. One of the things that you'll notice, the percentage here when you go to the total line, what it has done is totaled up the percentages. It is,
yeah.
instead of giving a percentage of the total the total line,
Yeah.
it has added the percentages. So that was something we noticed. There's actually a section in here, 1028, that doesn't exist, and they added that when they were building the back end of it. They put in a 1028, so that whole set of numbers just needs to go away because we don't have the 10 is the fund, general fund. 28 is a department number. There is no department 28. So
In general,
in
but there's
the
28 and not.
yeah, in general, but there is
Oh, there is a
exactly.
municipal.
So we have come to find out that a lot of the problems were in the implementation of this software. So when we first engaged with AccuFund, we had a woman, Joyce, who was our representative. She was the one that was leading the training and developing and building the back end of our system. And then, I don't know, we were a couple of trainings in and she said, oh, by the way, I'm quitting, Friday's my last day. We never heard from Joyce again. And then now there was a period of time in there where we were kind of kicked around to different people. Esther, God bless her, spent a lot of time on her own, just learning the system and figuring some things out. They do have a wikis learning page, tutorial where she was able to pick up a lot of it. But that didn't correct the back end problems. And actually now I think she could probably go to work for them and design the back end of it now too. We've been able to make some of those corrections. But like I said, we feel very comfortable about the system now and the product moving forward. We are going to, like I said, there's a couple of little small tweaks that we'll still make, and but probably 24 hours ago I was maybe ready to scrap the whole system to find something else. But they've restored my faith in them, and I do really believe that it is going to be the product that we anticipated that it would be when we chose to partner with them. So that being said, as we look, I have reviewed through the numbers. I don't really have anything that I want to call your attention to, but just maybe as we kind of go, you can kind of see. So up here in the left-hand corner, general administration, that is for these numbers. Again, that 10 represents the funds. So we have the general fund, we have hotel occupancy tax fund, we have there's a beach user fee fund. If we ever get to that point, we need that, a separate designation for that. And we have a water fund, a wastewater fund, a refuse fund. We also have capital improvement fund. So it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, all the way to 70. That's the fund. So when you're reading this, the 14 denotes the department. And for this 1014, we know is basic, I'll just say it's administration, general administration. And then the line item, the 71,100, regardless of what department or what funding, or regardless of what fund, they will all have these line items. There's a few that we've maybe broken down into a little bit more granular detail. But if it's 72,300, it will always be legal services for the city attorney. It will never be anything else. So if we wanted to run a report, how much are we spending for the legal fees, she would be able to go in and access that 72,300 and be able to, for all departments, here's how much we've spent for legal fees.
That's your budget line item.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Because at one point Sharon did want to see, do you remember when you were talking about rolling them up?
Yes.
So we figured out there's a way to roll them all up, so we can have it where it doesn't have it,
Yeah.
you can just have it by that particular line item, so it'll give you a summary of everything
Yeah.
for salaries.
Yeah.
So when I do a public information request and I want to know about legal fees, it would be easier for you to provide a public information request about legal fees.
For the total
Well,
amount, yes, but
yeah.
not like the support, cause it's not in there.
Yeah, we'd have to dig down into the system to be able to, then it would spit out,
The invoices.
the separate invoices.
Okay,
Yeah, it would be
just to get a total.
Just to get a total,
It's
yes.
simple to-
You can have it broke by department, by fund and then together.
Okay, cause for instance, like with, office supplies is in several different pots.
Exactly,
Mhm.
yeah.
It's
It's in different funds and different departments, but you could also have an overall of, in general, of what the city has spent.
So this
Yeah.
report
Good,
breaks it
good.
down by fund and department, so you separate, but like she said, if we call it a rolled up budget,
Yes.
it's a condensed version of all of these.
Yeah. So instead of having 35 pages,
Right.
we can get a high level overview that says overall with the city for
Mhm.
salaries, for
Exactly.
retirement, for overtime, we're at this point.
Right,
Then if you wanna break it down and see why we're high or low,
right,
we can break it down and see where the difference or disparity is.
yeah, so that's the next report we're working on, cause this is what we worked on today, and then, next week we're gonna work on, like, actually creating that
Okay.
one.
and, you know, I'll quickly go through this, but, so just, then if you go to the bottom of each of these departments, then you're gonna see the totals for, so we're at 119,000 for the first quarter into a $861,000 budget. And again, the percentages, just like I said, keep adding up, and that's one of the things we gotta get corrected.
Right.
Cause you're, you know, at, I don't know, what is that, 7% probably? An eighth, I guess. This is, building an STR. Again, nothing that, I don't have any concerns. The subscription, you see we're at 94%. I believe that is for our MyGov and the software that we use to, the annual payment for our software that we use to track the building permits and the STR permits. Everything else is, you know, we're basically right on track. I think we're gonna have to look at office services and supplies a little bit. I've noticed across all departments, it seems to be maybe a little higher than I would think, that maybe we need to, either we just really didn't understand the budget, or we're maybe using a little higher rate than I would have anticipated doing so.
In my experience, or anywhere I ever worked, office supplies were always a high expense, didn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's
Well, I noticed also in general, our, how come our internet cable bill's off? We've already expended the year.
So I think
Is it,
it's
did we
not
get
being
it coded?
distributed, yes, I
Okay.
think that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Okay.
So that was another thing, we,
Okay.
We're gonna reclassify a couple of
Yes.
things.
Okay,
Yeah.
cause I know we have that line item multiple places. I
We
haven't
do.
gotten far enough down
Yeah.
to see if we're zero elsewhere.
No, yeah,
It could be a
so it just
coding
needs to be,
issue.
yeah, I think it's what it is, cause I did, so instead of, Kendall was trying to make it a little bit easier, instead of one person coding, each department is in charge of, this is your budget, so you tell me where these funds are coming from. And so we have, you know, we probably need to go over like, some of the numbers, you know, you just get a little confused, so something was put in a wrong fund and we corrected it, so I think we have to kinda go over that.
Well, some of those individual invoices that then have to be split up and
Right,
coded.
right, so if I'm
to
turning this
different
invoice in and I
spots.
don't realize that it's broken up, so I think
Yes.
that could be a
Yeah.
breakdown.
And we also, something we may need to look at, because there is a function that allows you to set in automatic percentages. So like when you put in your cable bill,
Oh, yes.
it has preset percentages that
Percentages.
20% go to
Yes.
Yeah, the
administration.
distribution will
Yes.
break it down for you.
Yeah,
We can get better at that
yes,
Right,
and build that out in more locations to
right,
help
once we
towns.
know which ones we want, you can have it
yeah.
Yeah.
set for
Once
each-
we know
each-
that percentage is accurate every time.
Right,
It's
yeah,
not,
as
not
long as it's
variable.
not constantly changing, then it should be fine.
Yeah, and like for internet, for instance, that one shouldn't change.
It
It's the
shouldn't.
same fee.
Right,
Now,
but like
clearly
with the phones, no, you couldn't do that, because it changes, you know, depending on what cell phone you have, or, you know, which
Oh.
tablet, and, so some things have to you know, be broken down, but some things you can distribute
yeah, I mean,
as a
clearly-
whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
This is code enforcement. This expenditure here, we're just talking office supplies. There happens to be a printer purchased in that amount there. So that's the majority of what that expenditure is. Fire and EMS, there's no monies expended, although I will, it'll reflect later on in the water. We'll, we're getting good funds going into, fire and EMS on the volunteer.
Okay.
You'll see here a little bit that those contributions seem to be up for this time.
Nobody's used the tasers yet.
If they have, no
On
one
each
has.
other?
No, yeah. We do have, there may be video of some of our officers being tased.
Nice.
Again, I don't have any real concerns about anything that's happening. with it in the budgeting so far. Of course, I mean, we're very early on.
Hey, I am looking at line 1016, employer share medical insurance. So why have we already spent
I saw that, I think it's also a coding issue,
a coding issue?
Yeah,
Okay,
it is.
okay.
because I think maybe she's combining code enforcement and building together. Because if you look, I don't think code enforcement has anything in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And I apologize, I don't have my funds memorized yet.
Oh, I've looked at this.
Well, and that was,
Look at 'em.
that was one of the things that, we wanted to make sure because of that a layman could look at this and know that right now I'm looking at the code enforcement budget.
Yes.
So,
We either need a cheat sheet at the
Yeah.
beginning of the report
yeah.
that says 1, general, 2,
And-
code
and-
enforcement, 3, STR, right? Or 10, it's out to
Yeah.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60.
Right.
But whatever it is,
In the
a
same
cheat
order.
sheet on the front would help me.
Esther, to be fair, I mean, I've gone through, we just did that with where I work at my organization, and we had coding issues, and we developed a system, but it takes a good year to
It
get
takes a while,
it
yeah,
takes-
especially in the new
we're at,
system.
we're at a little over a year, and I'm so proud that we finally have it correct.
Right,
Where our coding, we had coding issues before, and now, and going in and doing the presets, that's what we ended up doing, especially when there was splits,
right.
and it's helped so much.
And then the numbers have changed. But we
Yes,
now have,
yes.
more categories, cause
Right, to
before,
line it up with
I
your budget line
mean,
items.
Sharon and I would have to look and figure out, well, does this really belong here? And it was just kind of like a dump, they just threw it all in there. So now that we have so many more options, it's, yeah,
And
it's
once you
good,
have
but
tied
then it
up with-
confuses people, it's like, well, where do I put it now? And now there's too
Yes.
many options, not too many, but
You have to
it's
understand it.
You do,
Right,
yes,
but if you
Yeah.
keep it in line with your budget line items,
exactly.
like, that should not,
And,
yeah,
and like I said,
it's just education.
you know, I've empowered staff that it's their budget and they're the ones that code
That's
it.
right.
And.
Are you able to
It's
get in
coded-
there and omit the ones that you're probably never gonna use, for example, just to
That's a
kind
good
of get
point.
rid
Well,
of them?
one thing I was
or-
wondering about is
That's a good
all of
point.
the places that there's zeros all the way across.
'cause
In
that would
actual
get
and budget
confusing.
are zeros.
And-
I know how
Yeah.
you've copied it
Yeah.
to show how expenses are distributed across each department and fund, but is it possible to produce it with the zeros gone?
I would have to ask, but I know there's a lot of options. Like I said, we were going over, we wanted to get to this point,
I mean,
to
we-
make sure that you have that,
Right,
right?
we need this in the background.
Right.
But then when you're actually working with it, so you don't have to scroll through, I mean, I venture to guess that more than half, or almost half of the line items are all zeros.
Right.
Yeah.
So we could cut it down to 15 pages instead of,
Well, there is
31
there is a lot of that. I mean, and I see what you wanna hide these cells here.
yes,
Right.
And on a
In the
typical
report.
spreadsheet, you can do that easily.
easily.
Right.
Fine, but not to leave.
And
Exactly.
there may be.
Not delete them,
You
hide
can
them.
tuck some of them
Yeah.
under a main
You don't lose
category,
them, you
so
just
it's
hide
not
them.
as confusing.
Yes.
That's right.
So I'd like to know if, and even when you're working with it, scrolling through, I think it would help to have those hidden,
Mhm.
Makes
because you're
it
not
less
scrolling
granular.
through
Right.
quite so many pages.
But she's got a fancy mouse that allows her to do it real fast.
Ooh, nice.
Sometimes it's too fast.
Office supply.
I brought that one with
Check.
And Mayor, can we go back to what you're talking about? Are you talking like a cover sheet that would say, for instance, if we were looking for, police department?
Right,
So it'll be, so you could go to page 6 and be able to find the
Yes.
police department?
yes.
Okay, that's what you're talking about?
Yeah, but I'm also just saying some fun descriptions. I mean, I don't mind flipping through 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,
What
60.
you're looking for,
But,
Right,
but
yeah.
what is 10? What is
Right.
20?
what
What
you're
is
looking
30?
for would be
Right.
this right here.
Yeah.
Would be that.
That's right, that's it,
Yes,
the department and their code, yeah.
So, and this is, this was something is on the working copy of our budget. And one of the things that we had to provide to them,
oh, when they set it up.
when they were setting up.
Yeah.
So I mean, we have it already.
Just to attach it
Yeah,
when
we
you
can
send it
just
out
put it
to
on.
us.
Right.
yeah. Yeah, I could, that's not a
And
problem.
then the way it is now, it's, the page breaks are by the department.
Okay.
So that's why it has the, like this one's development up top, it's total, it's hot development.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
So for now, but even still, like, you know, like Tess said,
Yeah.
if you wanna know, I'm gonna
Yes.
look for police and
Right.
Route 24, even though it says it on top, so you're not going through the tabs trying to figure out which one's which.
Right, which is
Right.
which. Yeah, I go right to the fund numbers.
Right.
Not the fund numbers, but the department
Department.
numbers.
But that's it.
But we can still have that cover sheet that says police department, hot tax, and so
Right.
on and so on, and page 18, 17.
So like Fund 30, the, beach user fee, we said we had to create one in anticipation that in case one
Yes.
existed.
Yes,
There's also monies budgeted,
yes. Yep.
to give us budget authority, but it's basically all zeros. I mean, you could hide a tremendous amount of it,
Right,
to make it a little bit easier.
yeah. I mean, if we could find a way to hide all the zero lines.
Okay.
And we can still keep it fund per page, even though the page might only be this long now instead of this long.
Right,
You know, which is gonna add more pages. We truly won't condense it completely,
right.
if that's easier.
God bless
Cause
you.
you've already
Well,
got those page breaks
I
built
think because
in.
we had so many sheets, well, thankfully, it's as easy as selecting, do you want a page break or you don't want a page break.
Oh, okay.
So it can run them all
Because
together,
I would-
it's just,
I would say we can get rid of the zeros, get rid of the page breaks too,
Right.
so that it just,
so there are a lot of options, you
Okay.
know, that like I said, we figured out today, it's just, and thankfully, like, you don't have to reconfigure the report every single time, you just copy what you have and then make your adjustments, and then once you're happy with that, you just
Save it
copy
as that
that one,
report,
and so
and
you
then it's
have,
good.
you know, the same report, but what you want, like
Okay,
condensed
cool.
or consolidated, however you want, it, yeah.
perfect.
Cool.
Sounds like you just have to run it a few ways and see what you like.
Right, right.
Yeah, that's really kind of what it is. I did want to point this out. I'd mentioned the fire department donations we're at about 40% of our budgeted year, and after the first quarter.
Chief Fane will be happy about that.
Yes, you should be very pleased with
That's
that.
good news.
Yeah, and so, about 74% of on the EMS side, so, that, I'll be interested to track that as that goes along, so. You know, unless you have questions, I'd be happy to show you anything that you want.
Was there anything you're worried about?
No, there isn't, there really isn't.
Are we adequately covered in all of the city hall expenses we've had to incur?
Yeah, cause
I think you had that budgeted.
yeah,
I mean, the floors, the carpet, the painting, I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know
that-
if y'all have noticed the facelift at City Hall. But
that was all budgeted. So we,
and do we feel we've got a handle on the upstairs?
I
The
think,
mold?
I think so.
Department.
We did, we removed a bunch of sheetrock along the south wall upstairs.
Yep,
In, the police chief office, re-sheetrocked that area. We did have a portion of the ceiling collapse in an adjacent office for whatever, I don't even know. That's been replaced, and when we took out the sheetrock, then we sealed around the windows. We think that water could have been coming in around the sides of the windows, and so we were experiencing some mold, but we've rectified that. You know, the cost there is
Not
staff time. It's not, you know, not a huge time. But the other improvements that, you know, we've added new carpeting throughout the lower level, repainted all the offices, corrected flooring problems that we were having.
yes.
Those were all actually.
No more fall through
Yeah.
concerns.
Those were actually all budgeted.
I thought they were.
Yeah, the original thought was to put a physical wall we have one large office that used to be my office,
Yeah.
to physically divide it into two offices. We decided to leave it, we made it two offices, but without a physical divider.
Yeah, bookshelves.
Yeah, bookshelves become the wall, and we reallocated that money into, some additional flooring and some stuff everywhere else. So,
Okay.
all the expenditures are more than covered.
Okay.
In fact, we're probably gonna explore the carpeting up in the police department.
Yeah.
Did you get all your permits approved?
What about the?
Actually, yes, we do.
What about the hole in the corner? You said
we
it
had-
was supposed to be coming out.
Yeah, we were getting the soffit vinyl, and so that is gonna be repaired.
Okay.
Yep.
Just-
Yeah,
I knew you were working
Yeah,
on
we're
it.
waiting to get the soffit
I
vinyl.
just hadn't gotten an update yet on, did the guy come out and was the repair in progress?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. I don't know if y'all have noticed, when you drive up to City Hall, look on the second story where the police stuff is, and part of the soffit's missing.
Mm-hmm. Right, I saw that.
Come every day, and that didn't notice that.
Huh?
I come here every day,
You
I
got,
didn't
you
notice
got, you gotta look straight up, but it
Right.
is there. It's a noticeable hole. But really, other than that, something else, tomorrow they will be here to, install new cameras, and add a few more additional security cameras.
Oh, okay.
That.
Same company, or are we going with a different company?
Same company,
Okay.
but, better quality
Updating it. Yeah,
better
ours-
quality
those are
cameras
older,
to
yeah.
have,
Upgrades.
to include sound and extended recording,
Okay,
and to address, some sound in here,
okay,
with some additional speakers out into the overflow areas in case
Oh,
we
okay.
need that.
okay,
That, my understanding is you should be able to turn off, like, we don't need them today,
right.
you know, but if you had an overflow, you'd be able to turn them on. And I believe to add a microphone here at the podium.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
So, and I'm hoping that includes renovating that.
Well, I think he did say that
Yeah.
it was
My
gonna be
rat-
something,
The
he's
beast.
like, so,
The
The
rat, the
so-
rat's nest of
Yeah,
my feet.
Can we adjust that camera so we can get more
Yeah.
coverage from,
This one,
yeah.
for the streaming, I don't know, we can ask.
So,
Okay,
but again, that was something that's on our strategic plan,
yes.
and is budgeted, so, that, I'm hoping the next meeting that things will be a little different.
Okay.
So,
But almost can have the TV in the middle,
That's what
you
I
know,
think.
and then just kind of oversee.
Yeah,
You can't see Dylan.
Yeah, you can, with the TV movie, you can.
Yeah.
what other questions would you have? Like I said, I don't have any concerns.
It's a good,
I especially don't have any concerns now that I can actually,
Publish your-
See the
actually,
numbers.
Cause it takes a while to get it, especially with the coding, and I know that just from experience.
Right.
And it's a good budget, it's coming along.
Nothing like getting the final product a couple hours before you have to present it to the public.
Not even a couple hours.
They were working on it when I got here at 5:35.
that's because Esther's a perfectionist and she.
I know. I know. Gotta move this here, move this here.
And we will post this out, on the website and get that out there,
And make it
probably tomorrow.
make it printable, like they did do with the budget?
Yeah, it's already a PDF.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's,
it is.
thankfully, that's how it generates.
Oh, great.
You have the option to do an Excel if you need to, but it automatically generates as PDF.
Okay, that's great.
And it should be that way, I mean, just so there's no,
Yeah.
someone tries to
Can't change,
complicate
can't
it.
change
Exactly,
it.
right.
Yeah.
You know what, you gotta do that.
One thing that caught my attention the other day, and just so y'all are kind of aware of it, if you go to, 22,130, which is hotel occupancy tax revenue. Year to date, we're at $229,914 and some change. Our budget is $600,000, and you're like, wow. But remember that our payments, did we find out how, did Pam?
Pam sent
Yes.
emails,
Yeah,
and
we-
they're,
Okay.
one
They have
person has,
responded.
right,
Okay.
yeah.
But that 229,000 is the payment that was made in October 15. So our budget year runs, October 1 to October 1, but so hotel occupancy tax for, July, August, September comes in on October 15th. So that actually represents tax collected during our prime time, right? July, August, and September. So just when you look at that number, don't think, wow.
Yeah, I have a question on that.
Yes.
And I haven't had a chance to really go through this yet, but that number is expended, right? And
Well, that's a
expenses.
revenue.
That's a revenue.
It's not committed. I mean, revenue is one thing. I'm really thinking
So you
about.
switched to expenditures?
And yeah,
Okay, we
expenditures.
were talking about a
Yeah, because
revenue
revenues
line,
are given.
but now you're asking for a,
Yeah,
yes, it's expended,
not committed.
not committed.
But,
In
See,
project
if we sign a
terms,
contract for X amount,
oh,
in project terms,
okay.
yes,
right, what, in our business, what we always have to report is you had a line for actual money out the door.
yep,
Then you had a line for, you had a contract in place and you've committed to spend this much money. So it lets you know how much actual money you still had to spend. So on a project, when you rolled everything up, it was, I've spent $1 million, I've committed $1 million, and I've got 3 million for this project, so I got $1 million left to
to
spend.
go.
Good.
Not to spend, but $1 million left to commit and spend.
Okay.
So that's what he's talking about.
Okay.
It's not a terminology we typically use.
It's not necessary, I was just wondering,
Yeah.
Yeah,
because when I'm looking at it,
right. Yeah, I know what you're, I know how we used to run projects, but, that's not the way we typically do.
it's not
do
really
budgets.
necessary here.
Well, I mean, we could,
You could project,
yes,
and that's what you were talking about.
yes. And I think Kendall is driving accountability for the budget down to each department. And so while we might not have a process that captures it, Kendall, you can jump in here, but I'm pretty sure the conversations are going on constantly with, are you on track with your budget? Which means that individual needs to know what future expenses are coming
We have those weekly discussions.
that might blow their budget.
Yeah.
One thing that I want to comment on for sure is that, this is the product of a lot of work that started 2 years ago, really, right? I mean, honestly, and I know you know it, and I know from talking to you about it. So what a lot of people don't know, the citizens don't understand, is that a lot of manual work went into that, and I really appreciate your work, and I mean, hats off to you all, Kendall, as well. I mean, you guys have done a fabulous job, and I enjoy being a part of this group, because you all have been extremely professional. Certainly with this, I mean, Councilwoman Jones, you've been very diligent in pushing, having more transparency, and that's appreciated, because that's forced everybody to kind of push harder and do their job. So honestly, I really appreciate being a part of this group. So, and not enough is said about that. And I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention, that there is a lot going on, that it's the things that you don't see that go on in the background that make a humongous difference. I mean, all the hours that have been spent to put this together in its current form. And you had mentioned before how great it looked, and I agree 100%. I mean, it was disaster zone for the longest time, and I mean, how we didn't have a budget for how long, I mean, you lived through it.
We
right?
never
You
had a
saw
real
it.
line item budget until now.
Right on.
This is the
So,
first real line item budget that this city has ever seen.
So I just
It can
wanted
be
to
accurately
recognize
tracked.
that, yeah, for sure. And I wanted to recognize the level of professionalism of everybody, and how much I appreciate that.
I told Esther I wasn't gonna say this, but I will, since you kind of brought it up. We are on track to have the check registers will be out next week, so that's the.
Hey, hallelujah.
Everybody's
Yes.
on, everybody's reminded, turn your stuff
Yes.
in.
Seats and stuff, so.
You're held,
Yeah,
everybody's held accountable.
That's our, our.
Everybody saw Kendall blow a cork with AccuFund, and they went, oh, we better get serious. This is what this looks like.
The, our strategic plan is, our goal is to have those out by the 15th of every month.
Right.
This report really pushes back though,
Yeah,
trying to get
You're
it.
not too far off this
No,
time.
I know.
We're not months off
I
this
think I have
time.
a
We're
holiday
days.
Monday,
Yeah.
so.
We're not months off this time. We're
Right,
days off.
just days off.
Give yourself some
Step,
grace.
step change.
You gotta give yourself some grace.
Yes.
Because it's not life or death. It's gonna happen. It's a lot of hard work. I echo what Alderman,
Mayor Pro Tem running.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry to get your title right. Mayor Pro Tem Rennick said, only because I understand what you're doing, so, and that's what I do every day, so it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
The
And
big thing is, I think, Mr. You should be given a badge for surviving the first real Jamaica Beach budget.
I guarantee you, it doesn't happen without her.
No.
Right on.
There were so many twists and turns, and, realignments and
Yeah.
different needs, as we learned.
yes.
No, this lady's pretty exceptional.
It really is.
Yeah, small staff,
Like
limited
I
funds.
said, when I came in
Good
as
stuff.
mayor and most people had left and Esther's
And the
sitting
mayor's a
at
numbers
this,
person.
and Esther's sitting at this desk, and we're going over some receipts that the old city secretary needed to close out the deal, and she's our water clerk, she knows nothing about it, she's been here 3 weeks, and she's flipping through and she's like, oh, well, da 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 da, and I went, oh my God, this lady is smart. And the minute Georgia resigned, I went, Esther, you're much more than a water clerk.
Wonderful.
Anyway, okay. I think any other discussion on the budget? All right, we're on with the mayor's report. And I was gonna bring up, based on one of the written comments in about, infrastructure. I think I answered some of those questions and when we were talking about authorizing, calling in HR Green to help us assess. Our infrastructure is a very high priority. And it's what we spend a lot of our time on. It's definitely what a lot of our money goes to. We will be bringing forward that overall comprehensive plan for execution here in the near future. We'll have to tie it to the HR Green report as well. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is it was in Robert Quintero's report, but tree trimming. So letters have gone out to homeowners. Centerpoint came out and we drove around and identified those that are into critical high lines. And I would encourage all residents to please take advantage of Centerpoint's willingness to come cut those down. I know it hurts our hearts to lose a palm tree. It hurts a lot more to lose a contractor that goes up to trim it. So as you think about losing that palm tree, also think about losing the guy that you send up there to trim it. And think about those relative pains. They will come out. And also if you have any that you're concerned about, I know this has gone out, but the numbers out there on the website, call the guy at Centerpoint. We have the list that we prioritize, but they will come and help you with any that you're nervous about and concerned about. They will take it down to the ground and haul it off. So, they're not gonna do it if it's just one you wanna get rid of. but
JBIC said you have to come back. Please.
And unfortunately there is no option other than cutting it down. If we trim it, we know they just come back.
Is there a time frame on that service that they're providing?
I would think everybody should be calling in the next month. They might not be willing to send their arborist down here again. So please take care of your trees.
Can you call them and give them an address of a house that you see that there's a problem?
Yes, you can ask them to, if you have a concern about a tree, call the number and say, this isn't me, it's my neighbor, but my neighbor's rarely here, or, for
Right.
whatever reason, could you come assess it?
Okay, good.
They're very excited that we're willing to help them take care of impacts to the power lines.
Can we
So,
put an announcement, or have you put an announcement on the, online, like on the Facebook page for people so they know?
We probably need to do more on the Facebook and website, around this info.
Yeah.
We just copy whatever he gave me and
Yeah, we also added it
To the water bill.
To the water bill, put it out
That's
there.
good.
Yeah, so, but let's put that blip from the water bill, you know, with Joseph Green's, Joseph, what's his last name? With his contact information.
Okay.
All right, and, that's all I have. So we don't have an executive session tonight. Do you have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning? Thank you.